Hello again, Steve here. If I look a little bit groggy and tired, I am because I worked like 12 hours today and then I went out to a Toastmasters club to help out with a speech contest. And I was actually a judge. This is the judge's ballot for the international speech contest at a club level. It's a small club. But I hadn't done a video today and I got to thinking, what can I think about today? What's a life lesson? And then I thought, bingo, the judging criteria on the side of the ballot has some really interesting content there. I'd done this a few times before, but it just dawned on me as something that can be used not just in a speech, but in life. So much in general. It's funny how we can just pick out lessons, here and there. I mean, judging is, it's like an opinion. It's like an assessment, right? And we can assess ourselves in our projects and in our life and so on. And, it starts out by, and of course these categories, there's different categories, okay? Speech development, effectiveness, speech value, physical, voice, manner, appropriateness, and correctness. Now, these could be used for so many areas of our lives. Now, of course, some of the stuff is weighed heavier than others, but I'll just go through them here. Basically, speech development, structure, organized, support material. Now, that's for speech development, but it could be any project development, right? It could be our fitness routine. We put fitness routine development, structure and organization. Do we have any structure to it, or do we just say, I'll go today and then I'll go in 3 weeks, or do we have a structure to it? Do we have support material? Do we have proper shoes? Do we have a proper raincoat if we're going to go out for a walk in the pouring rain? These sorts of things, the speech development, in getting an idea across, if that's what we're doing, if we're speaking, to get an idea across, it's best to have structure and support material. If we're going to make an opinion, it's best to be able to back that up with something, right? Second category, effectiveness. And this little category, there's little notes underneath each heading, see? And this one, effectiveness, has to do with achievement of purpose, interest, and reception. Okay, it has having to do with speech, mind you. If we're talking to somebody and it's important, we think that our message is important, we're best to achieve that importance, to get the idea across, to achieve the purpose, right? To get the interest and for our message to be receptive. And that also means if the pitch is on us, if we're not convinced ourselves of what we're doing, then we're not being very effective, are we? Speech value. Once again, you could substitute speech with project value, right? Are the ideas right? Is the logic right? Is the thought right within it? In our project, in our speech, right? Or is it completely divergent? Is our project to buy a new car, and here we are shopping for, fishing rods, or we're looking on Kijiji for a car, and all of a sudden we find ourselves off looking at all kinds of other details on there because we see this interesting thing, that YouTube video, and we're all over the place, right? It doesn't have value. It doesn't have value for our, in this case of speech, it doesn't have value in terms of whatever project it is we're doing if we're off helter-skelter all over the place, right? Physical. In speech, this is important. I mean, if we're trying to be excited and we're looking down the dumper, right? Or we're trying to get a message across to that individual over there, and we're looking up at the stars, or we're looking over here, we're not paying attention, or we're turning around, they're just going to walk away, right? And the same is the case with whatever our project is. Even ourselves, there's something about sitting up straight and getting on with it, or we go for a walk and we want to be serious, we want to go for a nice power walk to get the stride and to look up and be attentive and be, there's something about that, about our physicality that translates back into our mental attitude, because I'm thinking they're connected, right? Our voice. Well, this applies especially to speech, but even in talking to ourselves, even if we're talking to ourselves in our mind, are we positive? Are we down the dumper all the time? Do we have a cheerful tone, or do we have a negative tone? A sarcastic tone or a happy tone? These sorts of things. And also the the volume when we're talking to somebody, or we're thinking to ourselves, we're just kind of mumbling away, then it doesn't seem to be even serious to us, right? It's not very convincing. Manner. Direct, assured, enthusiastic. Are we direct? Are we assured? And are we enthusiastic in our manner? And that can relate to anything, can it? If we want to have success in our project development, whatever it is we're doing. In our family, if we want to be a valuable member of the family, and we, if we complain about what the family is, and yet we have input, are we direct, assured, and enthusiastic? And if we're not, why not? If we don't know how to be, why can't we work on it? These sorts of things, right? Appropriateness is what we're doing appropriate. In this case, this is a speech. So if, as a judge, these are the things I'm kind of looking for, right? If the title of the speech and the purpose of the speech is such, and the speaker is way off on the others, they're supposed to be talking about the sun, and now they're talking about the dark side of the moon, and it's not related, then it's not appropriate. It's off track, way off track, right? So that's easy to understand too in terms of our projects. Once again, back to the YouTube thing, and I mention this quite a bit because I like YouTube in terms of how much stuff is there. But if I'm working on this and I find myself watching this video which has nothing to do with it, I realize that is inappropriate for this particular project. Correctness. A lot of these things are kind of related, right? Appropriateness and correctness. Well, this has to do with grammar. In this particular case, the correctness has to do with grammar, whereas the appropriateness has to do with the general purpose. But grammar is so important, right? Because, the old trivium even, right? Started right off with grammar, logic and rhetoric. Unless we can put our words together, it doesn't matter if we're talking to somebody else or we're talking to ourselves. We can't construct an idea that we can actually see that idea in terms of a construction. And even if we're not doing a speech, if we're doing anything, any kind of a project, we have to be able to articulate that either always to ourselves and also to others if they're involved. So once again, life lessons in the darndest places. Here, from right off, international contest, Toastmasters International Speech Contest Judges Ballot. And this was a fantastic little treasure trove of ideas, really. There's also another one here, which is the evaluation contest. There's two contests that take place in the same evening, and this one here, it's a little bit different because they're smaller speeches mostly. We're looking for a little bit different things, but this one also has great things that we can go through. Headings. It's got a shorter number of headings. It's got analytical quality, recommendations, technique, and summation. Analytical quality has to do with clarity and focus. So if somebody goes up there and they're this is a evaluation contest. What happens is somebody does a speech, and there's selected people who are in the contest are going to do evaluations of that. They go out of the room and they are kept away from the rest. They write up their evaluation, and then they're called in on the order of which they were drawn, right, in order. So they can't hear each other until they actually speak. So the first one comes in, does the evaluation, and then sits down, the next one comes in, and so on. So they don't get to listen to each other's evaluations, they don't get to be biased in that way, and they don't have their, and also they only have a certain amount of time to do their evaluation, and the guy supervising the evaluation takes their notes away when the first guy goes out, so they don't have a chance to. So nobody has an advantage of more time to write out notes. But nevertheless, analytical quality. If the speech was about caring for sheepdogs, the speech that they were supposed to analyze, and somebody comes in and is talking about, I don't know, how they actually like cats. It's ridiculous, whatever. It's completely unfocused. It's nothing to do with, and often we find ourselves in that way, right? Off on a tangent somewhere. Recommendations, positive, specific help. Well, we can, in any project, we can either ask for recommendations. Hey, how does it look like I'm doing? If I'm trying to learn how to play guitar and I think I'm, king shit, and I ask a good friend, can you really, who's a guitar player, can you come over and listen to what I'm doing and give me some constructive feedback? These are kind of things that we can do for anything, right? Recommendations. Techniques. Motivational. Also, this has to do with feedback, of course, and so if we ask for feedback or we're going to give feedback, it's important to do it and this has to do a lot, this could have to do with raising children. Rather than telling them what to do, we give them constructive evaluation. We're sensitive about it. Motivational. People respond to encouragement much more. The old saying, you can attract more bees with honey than you can with vinegar, right? And that's so true. Summation, concise and encouraging. Summation. We really have to be able to summarize what it is that we're doing. In any project, we have all these ideas, these visions, right? We visualize everything, but eventually it's best to condense and crystallize it. I like to use the example of building a house. We have all these ideas, chatting with the wife and all this, what it is that you want, what it is that we want. We can see all these different plans and so on, but eventually we have to settle in on one, right? That's like a condensation of all the work we've done, getting an actual plan together on paper, right, or on computer or whatever, getting the carpenters and so on. It's like a summary of that part of the project. Boom, done. Now the next part of the project is getting all the dirt work going and all the construction, hammers flying and everything. Get it all going, and the conclusion is the house there, right? We in other words, the results. What are the results? What are the boom, boom, boom results? That's kind of like summarizing, and in speech they talk about, tell us what you're going to tell us, and tell us what you told us. That's a good thing to remember in terms of any kind of a project, right? What is the project? What are the details for the project? It's like a miniature of the project. What is it blowing out again? And then what's the summary of the project? It helps us to stay focused, I think. So life lessons can be found anywhere, even on a Toastmasters contest judging ballot. Hope this is helpful. My name is Steve once again. This is great chatting. I'll do this again sometime. Bye-bye for now.